Hi, welcome to the quiz. You can answer along on quizalto.com, all for free. The exact URL of this quiz will be in the notes down below. Let's get started, good luck. Which AWS service is integrated with Amazon FSx for Lustre to enable data access for compute-intensive applications? AWS Lambda, Amazon RDS, Amazon Redshift, Amazon EC2. Amazon FSx for Lustre integrates with Amazon EC2 for compute-intensive applications. Which of the following is true regarding the deployment options for Amazon FSx for Lustre? It can be deployed in a single availability zone or across multiple availability zones. It requires deployment across at least 3 availability zones for high availability. It must be deployed globally in all AWS regions for data redundancy. It can only be deployed in a single availability zone for maximum performance. Amazon FSx for Lustre offers deployment options in a single availability zone for cost-effectiveness or across multiple availability zones for high availability, depending on the chosen file system type. What is the purpose of the Lustre monitoring tool provided by Amazon FSx for Lustre? To detect and prevent unauthorized access to the file system. To track performance metrics and debug issues in the Lustre file system. To monitor the cost of the FSx for Lustre deployment. To automatically scale the file system based on usage patterns. The Lustre monitoring tool helps administrators track various performance metrics and debug issues within their Lustre file system, aiding in optimization and troubleshooting. What AWS service does Amazon FSx for Lustre use as its underlying data store? Amazon RDS, Amazon S3, Amazon EBS, Amazon DynamoDB. Amazon FSx for Lustre uses Amazon S3 as its underlying data store, providing scalable storage capacity. Which of the following is a benefit of using Amazon FSx for Lustre? Blockchain storage for secure data transactions. Cold storage for infrequently accessed data. Object storage for large data sets. High throughput and low latency file system. Amazon FSx for Lustre is designed to provide high throughput and low latency for compute-intensive workloads. What is the primary purpose of the Amazon FSx for Lustre auto import feature? To import data from on-premises storage systems into FSx for Lustre. To migrate data between different FSx for Lustre file systems. To automatically import new and changed objects from S3 into the file system. To import machine learning models from SageMaker into the file system. The auto-import feature allows FSx for Lustre to automatically detect and import new or changed objects from a linked S3 bucket into the file system, keeping data in sync. Which AWS service provides fully managed file storage optimized for compute-intensive workloads such as machine learning, high-performance computing, and video processing? Amazon S3, Amazon EFS, Amazon FSx for Lustre, Amazon Glacier. Amazon FSx for Lustre provides high-performance file storage for compute-intensive workloads. Which of the following is a benefit of using Amazon FSx for Lustre over self-managed Lustre deployments? Access to legacy Lustre features. Higher performance for small-scale deployments. Managed service with automated backups and maintenance. Lower cost than self-managed deployments. Amazon FSx for Lustre offers managed services with automated backups and maintenance, which simplifies operations. Which AWS service can be used with Amazon FSx for Lustre to optimize data storage costs for infrequently accessed data? AWS Snowball, Amazon RDS, Amazon S3 Glacier. Amazon EBS. Amazon FSx for Lustre can be integrated with Amazon S3 Glacier for cost-effective storage of infrequently accessed data. What is the purpose of the Lustre clients in the context of Amazon FSx for Lustre? To provide a web-based interface for managing files in the Lustre file system. To mount the Lustre file system and interact with it as a local file system. To authenticate users before granting access to the file system. To compress and decompress data before sending it to the file system. Lustre clients are software components that allow compute instances to mount the FSx for Lustre file system and interact with it as if it were a local file system, enabling high-performance data access. How does Amazon FSx for Lustre integrate with AWS Identity and Access Management? It only uses IAM for initial setup, then switches to local user management. It uses IAM roles and policies to control access to the file system and its API actions. It requires a separate user management system outside of IAM. It does not integrate with IAM. Access is controlled via file system permissions only. FSx for Lustre integrates with AWS IAM, allowing you to use IAM roles and policies to control who can create, delete, and manage file systems, as well as who can perform API actions. What is a key characteristic of the storage type used by Amazon FSx for Lustre? It uses SSD storage for high IOPS and throughput. It utilizes network-attached storage devices. It exclusively uses HDD storage for cost-effectiveness. It relies on tape storage for long-term archiving. Amazon FSx for Lustre uses SSD storage to deliver high levels of IOPS and throughput, which is crucial for HPC and machine learning workloads. Which of the following correctly describes the concept of bursting in the context of Amazon FSx for Lustre? It allows the file system to temporarily exceed its baseline throughput. It refers to the ability to quickly delete large amounts of data. It automatically increases the storage capacity during peak usage. It enables faster data transfer between the file system and EC2 instances. Bursting in FSx for Lustre allows the file system to temporarily exceed its baseline throughput to handle spikes in workload, providing additional performance when needed. What is the maximum storage capacity per Lustre file system that can be provisioned with Amazon FSx for Lustre? Multiple terabytes. 50 terabytes. Multiple petabytes. 500 gigabytes. Amazon FSx for Lustre supports file systems with storage capacities ranging from hundreds of gigabytes to multiple petabytes. Which of the following statements is true regarding the pricing model of Amazon FSx for Lustre? You pay only for the storage you use, with no charges for throughput. You pay per file operation, regardless of the storage or throughput used. You pay for the storage capacity and throughput capacity you provision. You purchase reserved capacity upfront for a fixed monthly fee. The pricing model for FSx for Lustre is based on the storage capacity and throughput capacity you provision, allowing you to align costs with your workload requirements. Which data transfer protocol does Amazon FSx for Lustre support? FTP, HTTP, TCP, IP, UDP. Amazon FSx for Lustre supports data transfer using the TCP/IP protocol. Which Amazon FSx for Lustre deployment option allows for automatic scaling of storage capacity? Persistent, multi-AZ, Scratch, single AZ. The Scratch deployment option in Amazon FSx for Lustre allows for automatic scaling of storage capacity. What is the primary benefit of using Amazon FSx for Lustre with AWS Parallel Cluster? It simplifies the deployment and management of high-performance file systems for HPC clusters. It enables cross-region replication of the file system. It automatically optimizes the cluster's network topology. It provides a graphical user interface for monitoring cluster performance. Using FSx for Lustre with AWS Parallel Cluster simplifies the deployment and management of high-performance file systems, making it easier to set up and run HPC workloads. Which AWS service can be integrated with Amazon FSx for Lustre to enhance data analytics capabilities? Amazon SES, AWS Glue, Amazon EMR, AWS X-Ray. Amazon FSx for Lustre integrates with Amazon EMR to enhance data analytics capabilities. How does Amazon FSx for Lustre support data access for compute-intensive workloads? By using a NoSQL database for data retrieval. By streaming data directly from Amazon Glacier. By providing a POSIX-compliant file system. By accessing data through Amazon SQS. Amazon FSx for Lustre provides a POSIX-compliant file system interface, suitable for compute-intensive workloads. How does Amazon FSx for Lustre enhance data processing for HPC workloads? By providing scalable performance. By focusing on data archival. By implementing serverless computing. By using blockchain for data validation. Amazon FSx for Lustre enhances data processing for HPC workloads by providing scalable performance. What is the purpose of the HSM_archive command in Amazon FSx for Lustre? To migrate data between different storage tiers within FSx for Lustre. To create a compressed archive of the entire file system. To generate a hash of the file for integrity checking. To move data from the Lustre file system back to Amazon S3. The HSM_archive command is used to move data from the Lustre file system back to the linked Amazon S3 bucket, which can help manage storage costs and data lifecycle. How does Amazon FSx for Lustre handle data lazy loading from Amazon S3? It requires manual intervention to load specific files from S3. It loads file metadata from S3 and retrieves file contents only when needed. It does not support lazy loading, all data must be preloaded. It immediately loads all data from S3 when the file system is created. FSx for Lustre implements lazy loading by initially loading only file metadata from S3, and then retrieving the actual file contents on demand when they are first accessed, which helps reduce initial setup time. What is the main difference between FSx for Lustre's scratch file systems and persistent file systems in terms of data replication? Scratch file systems do not replicate data, while persistent file systems do. Scratch file systems replicate data more frequently than persistent file systems. Both file system types replicate data across multiple availability zones. Persistent file systems do not support data replication at all. The key difference is that scratch file systems in FSx for Lustre do not replicate data, accepting the risk of data loss for better performance, while persistent file systems replicate data for durability. In the context of Amazon FSx for Lustre, what does the term scratch file system refer to? A short-term, highly performant storage option designed for temporary data processing. A file system used for testing and development purposes only. A backup system that stores redundant copies of data. A file system that automatically deletes files after a set period. A scratch file system in FSx for Lustre is a short-term, high-performance file system designed for temporary data processing and is not intended for long-term data storage. And that's a wrap. Thanks to everyone who participated. Remember, you can answer along on Quizalto.com, where you can keep track of your progress and find much more quizzes. We hope you had a fun and challenging time. Until next time. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel for more. Hit the bell icon to be notified as soon as we upload. Please leave a comment if you have any thoughts or suggestions, and, if you think this video is worth sharing with someone who could benefit from it, please forward a link to them. See you next time. Thanks for watching.